Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76 Sports. First of all, please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Well, in my last Michigan football video, which talked about the potential for Joe Milton to become the next great Michigan quarterback and to perhaps lead us over Ohio State for the first time in Jim Harbaugh's embattled tenure as the Michigan football head coach. At the beginning of that video, I said, okay, I'm not doing any more basketball. All this Laker propaganda and celebration, I can't be a part of it. But I was partially joking, and while I intend to, while the bulk of it going forward will involve the Maize and Blue and the Big Ten and maybe some NFL and whatever else is happening, there's still some NBA news to report. So, as most of you know, I was rooting for the Clippers for most of the season, and I was hoping to see a battle for Los Angeles, and I was a little heartbroken over the collapse and the implosion and the sinking ship in the bubble at the hands of the Denver Nuggets. And of course, all of Laker fan, they threw a parade, and they just rubbed it in, and there's only one Los Angeles team, and we're a heritage team, and all those kinds of things. And so shortly after the Clippers imploded, Doc Rivers did a gutsy thing and took a leadership role and took accountability publicly. And so a couple of days ago, the Clippers fired him. So there have been numerous Clipper articles circulating, and I was going to freestyle this video, but I found one that I'm going to read, and I'm going to leave a bunch of Clipper articles under this video, and but I'm going to focus on this one article here. So the title is, "Why Simply Firing Doc Rivers Does Not Solve the Clippers' Complicated Playoff Problems." And then underneath it says, "Los Angeles collapsed in the playoffs, but there were factors beyond the coach's control." And this was written by James Herbert 17 hours ago. And there's the picture of Doc and looks like Montrezl Harrell and PG-13 and J. Michael Green, probably during that fateful Denver series. They all have a look of desperation and bewilderment on their faces. So actually I can't see Paul George's face because his back is to the camera, but Montrezl Harrell and J. Michael Green and Doc Rivers, they have a look of inevitability. Okay, normally the preseason championship favorite blows a 3-1 lead. Normally, if the preseason championship favorite blows a 3-1 lead in the second round of the playoffs, a coach firing would require little by way of explanation. This is particularly true if said team had a double-digit lead in the second half of each of its last 3 games. The 2019-20 Los Angeles Clippers season fell apart with 3 separate collapses, and yet when they fired Doc Rivers on Monday, it was a stunner. This is because of Rivers' stellar resume, and because he has meant so much to the franchise for the past 7 years. It is also because 13 days after their Game 7 loss to the Denver Nuggets, their playoff exit still seems so strange. And I know there's some Laker fan out there saying, well, no, it's not strange because there's only one LA team, and the Clippers are a basement team, and the Clippers are frauds and they're clowns, the clown Clips, blah blah blah. At times this season, the Clippers looked like the potential champions they were supposed to be. After game 1 of the Nuggets series, one could credibly argue Kawhi Leonard was the best player in the league. He'd just scored 94 points on 38 for 58 shooting in 3 games. A 154-111 win against Dallas, a 111-97 win against Dallas, and a 120-97 win against Denver. But when Los Angeles went cold, it was absolutely frigid. Each time the Nuggets erased a deficit, they did so with poise and precision. They targeted the Clippers' weaker defenders, bent their defense, and found high percentage shots. When plays broke down, their stars made some low percentage ones too. It was a stark contrast to what was happening on the other end, as Los Angeles looked unsure of itself, disjointed, and disconnected. I talked about that in many of my videos following the aftermath of those games. And Jokic hit a number of insane shots off of one leg, falling away, shots that you thought would clank off the front of the rim or clank off the back of the rim. He hit some back-breaking, janky-looking, weird shots. So those must have been hard psychologically for the Clippers to, just kind of process as those games were going on. Typically, this would be enough to justify firing a coach, and surely Rivers bears some of the responsibility. But if the idea behind this move is that someone had to be held accountable, then it's worth asking why it should be Rivers. It's also worth asking what exactly happened in those collapses. On the latter question, there were all sorts of factors. The Nuggets played shockingly effective defense, both one-on-one and helping and recovering when the Clippers stars put the ball on the floor. The Clippers didn't respond to the heightened pressure by moving the ball and making the defense think. The Clippers' defensive problems compounded their offensive issues because they had to go against Denver's set defense. The Clippers weren't in good enough condition, so they were running out of steam and making mental mistakes. Yeah, there were a number of those. There are a few popular answers for the former. Rivers could have played J. Michael Green or even Marcus Morris more at center, since they were getting destroyed in Montrezl Harrell's minutes and Nikola Jokic was cooking Ivica Zubac. Yeah, maybe that would have been a better move, playing Marcus Morris at center. I mean, he has the 3-point range, but there was something about him and J. Michael Green hoisting up those shots in those games that that was giving me heartburn, because while they were capable shooters, they weren't making those shots. I thought you wanted Paul George and Kawhi and Lou Williams shooting more of those shots. Rivers could have played Lou Williams more, just to give the Clippers more juice on offense. I agree with that. Rivers could have had Leonard guard Jokic more. Oh, that's interesting. Rivers could have used different coverages against Jamal Murray and Jokic's 2-man game. Switching could have cut down on Jokic's pick and pop threes. He was killing the Clippers on the threes. I thought Doc could have made some sort of adjustment to blanket him more somehow. It is fair to say that Rivers didn't find a rotation that worked against the Nuggets and couldn't get his team to play with enough purpose when it counted. Perhaps that is damning. the Los Angeles Lakers, are in the finals despite having to make difficult decisions with regard to playing time, balancing defense with offense, and size with mobility. It is difficult to find an analyst who argued that the Clippers were the less versatile of the two Los Angeles teams. I'm not sure, however, that there was a perfect solution to the Clippers' problems, and we'll never know how much these problems would have mattered against Denver if Harrell hadn't had to leave the bubble after the death of his grandmother, and if Patrick Beverley hadn't repeatedly been in foul trouble. Los Angeles has been roundly criticized for its lack of cohesion, and Williams even said they didn't have enough chemistry a few months after saying they would laugh at people outside of the locker room who said exactly that. The Clippers rarely had their full roster available, though in the pre-bubble portion of the season and in Orlando. Maybe they would have won the title in normal circumstances. I suspect, though, that they made errors in roster construction, undervaluing passing and underestimating how difficult it would be to cover for weak defenders. Either way, Rivers is losing his job partially because of factors beyond his control. A year after his presence helped the team lure Leonard and George. Rivers told the Los Angeles Times about a year ago that in the Clippers pitch meeting with Leonard, the superstar pointed at him and said, "I want to play for you." Leonard then told owner Steve Ballmer that he wouldn't sign with them if they didn't improve the roster. By trading almost everything they had for George, they were able to win the summer. As Rivers said, though, the Clippers were trying to win the season, not just the summer. Winning the season is a lot more complicated. If they're going to do it next year, they're going to need to change more than just the coach. I thought that was a solid article. And I think the comments about chemistry are very, very important. I'm working on a book project right now about my own high school basketball experience and, what that taught me about life going forward and what sports teaches those who participate in it. And I've interviewed a number of players from my high school basketball team and the region I grew up in, Western New York. And that seems to be a common theme amongst many players, the chemistry, playing for each other, wanting to go to war with one another, and also covering for one another and picking one another up when falling behind. And so, anyone who's participated in sports or even who's observed sports knows that you can put all the best players or you can put talented players together on paper, but you don't know how they're going to play together and how they're going to mesh and coalesce together. Prior to this Denver series, I didn't understand or realize how many quote-unquote defensive liabilities that the Clippers had. And this is relating back to when the author of this article said, certain Clippers players covering for other Clipper players on defense. The Rockets, the Nuggets had a tough team, and they had shooters, and Jamal Murray killed the Clippers, as did Nikola Jokic, and some of their other guys stepped up, and that was just a tough team. I think the Lakers were able to take them down because of LeBron. LeBron presents a size advantage, and he scored a lot of his points in transition, slashing to the basket, AD presented a matchup problem for the Nuggets. The Lakers, their shooters were hitting in those games. And also, I think that one of the turning points of that series for the Nuggets and the Lakers was Frank Vogel starting Dwight Howard. I think that gave the Lakers a rebounding edge. And also, I think, LeBron guarding Jamal Murray put a taller defender on Jamal Murray. But I'm going to close this out by saying that Frank Vogel made a key adjustment there, in my opinion, in starting Dwight Howard. And Doc, with the troops that he had, did not make key adjustments, or maybe he tried to make adjustments, and because I guess the Clippers got fatigued or their bad chemistry, they weren't able to adjust and survive and advance. So, I was thinking earlier, before they formed the bubble and decided to finish the season out this way, I did shoot a video on this channel about Jerry West being disappointed that the two LA teams wouldn't get to play. And so, one question is, as the author of this article stated, if this had played out under normal circumstances where the teams had to travel and where Denver had to go out to LA and there was a home crowd, would that have affected the outcome? Would that have made a difference? The bubble is very sterile. There's no home court advantage. And, there may have been some effects of this environment that led to the outcome. I know Laker fan is going to say, well, who cares? We're the better team. Your team sucks. There's only one Los Angeles team. Kind of like Ohio State fan. But I'm going to stop this here. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. I might make one more NBA video after the NBA Finals to recap the whole thing, or if it turns into a pretty good series. Of course, Laker fan is predicting that they're going to win in 5. But I told a Laker fan in my circle, one Aleem Abdul Gaines, that Jimmy Butler has some fight. So, and that entire Miami team has some fight, and Miami has some shooters as well. So don't be surprised if it turns into more of a street fight than anticipated, but we'll see. In any case, I'm going to stop this here. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. In any case, I'm going to stop this video here. Please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time.